Hey, Mike, are you there?
Yes, good evening, Dan.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yes. Oh, not too bad. How are you doing, Dan?
All right, so are you doing some work in Texas then? Is that what's where you're at?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Gotcha. Okay. How's everything else going otherwise?
I'm not too bad. Just wish we could talk this out, figure it out, and get going on moving on or whatever needs to happen, Dan.
Yeah, no, well, I mean,
You know,
I agree. I
I'm
mean,
not. I haven't decided. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, no, I agree. It would be nice to kind of try to, you know, move on. But there are a couple of concerns I'd like to go over and try to get a little bit of breath of calm air and, so on and so forth. So, but anyways, if I could, let me just step back in here and get in front of a couple of notes here just so I can talk intelligently.
Yes.
So then, if I could, I would just like to go over, as you know, I like to go over the last, like 6 weeks roughly of your time there because it corresponds with that new bank account. And as you know, IRS zeroed out the Bugbuster account, as well as the Lakeside account. Bugbuster's had about 3 grand in it, which was, a halfway decent little buffer. And Lakeside had more, but either way, and by the way, I think you heard that we won both those appeal cases. But here we are, still waiting, like
Congratulations.
5, 6 weeks later, still waiting for money to come back. But as you know, we set up that new account, and I mean, we had no money, and so Amy was, of course, hypersensitive, looking at that account, daily, trying to,
Mhm.
get money in it and see where we're at and all that jazz. And that's where she started to become aware of just kind of what some confusing stuff. But I guess if I could, I'll just kind of I'll just kind of read a couple notes here, kind of a little summary. So this is from basically the 1st of February, through March 14th. And receipts, you turn in receipts due to the Bugbuster account, being unusable. You turned in a total of 14 receipts, and 2 of these receipts were for gas on a weekend time frame. I'll try to make this summarize. My goal is not to make this a big long thing, but that's what began to be the alarming thing. Was that okay? This doesn't seem to make sense. So on February 5th and February 9th, one was actually they were both Saturdays. One was for $20 and one was for $15. So it does not appear that there was any work on that day, and so it's like, okay, well, those we're not responsible for those gas bills. It's non-business. Another receipt
Yeah.
on the 4th of March, jumping then, was for $88.88. And as I think you also know, we have that tracking system in the vehicle. We have mostly used that
Sure.
so that Kara could just kind of know where you're at, or anyone. And we do the same thing in Tahoe, so that if Mrs. Jones or Mr. Smith calls and they go, hey, we got a problem, we can go, hang on, we got a guy right there, or not too far away. We've never used it to corroborate things, but in this case, that's kind of what Amy has done. So back to the $88 receipt. Our vehicle was not present when that charge was made, meaning, it's again kind of at a loss. So, I mean, is this
Following you.
okay? You're following me then?
I'm following you, Dan. I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not denying anything. I'm not. Going on. A couple of the charges are due to some of the things that I put out on my expenses that I actually didn't get back. That I probably should have brought to your attention clearly before I did that. Was that wrong? What I did? Clearly, Dan. Was I going overboard with it? I don't think so. It's not like we've done 4 years of these expenses or anything. It's just a couple of things came up in the beginning of the year. You know, maybe took advantage of it, maybe not. And I'm not the best with on the receipts and turning them in either, Dan. But I'm not going to argue with you that the charges are on there. And if you want to say I owe you money, that's fine, Dan. That's fine.
Sure. Well, I can go on with the February amounts, but suffice it to say that you turn in gas receipts, and we issued a total of 3 checks, totaling $520 to reimburse you. One was 180 from Lakeside, one was 170 from that new bank, and then there was a second one for 170 from the new bank. And at the end of all this, for this roughly 6 week period, and again, there was a lot of these like $7, $8, $30, $9.68, $38. There was another one of these here on the 7th of March that was for $47.57, and again, we had just reimbursed you for $80 on the 4th, I think it was. No, maybe it was on the 7th, the same day. So it just kind of felt like a big mishmash.
I remember that day. I think I bought a can of cheer. That gas did go into the truck then, the $40.
Okay, that was February. That was February 15th for $49.47, and then there was $9, 47 cents, I think, for lunch or chew or something.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yeah, whatever we need to do to work out that day. I'm not saying I didn't, but I'm not going to lie to you, there was a few $100 in there that, I did put up and didn't get it back correctly. And I'm not like you, I'm not here trying to nitpick or anything, but what about when Amy poured out the $250 out of not even a 40-hour week and said they take 30% out of my check? And then it goes down to 26%. Then it goes down to 10%. That money's already been taken out. Now we're trying to work this out 2 weeks later. And then we got put back in or sorted out in any way, Dan.
Well, I think that would be a separate bookkeeping matter, but I mean, meaning that we gave you a couple of checks there that were for the gross, hours without any deductions, including on a big one there. But truly, we do need. I agree. We need to get to the bottom of that one to see exactly how that panned out. That is math. But respectfully, I mean, when was there any times that you were using your money to buy something and that we didn't reimburse you? I'm only aware of basically the few occasions involving this new account where, again, there's no money in it, and suffice it to say that every time you turn in a receipt, it was roughly for $70, $80, and Amy was like doubling that, like the $180 payment. That way you would have the money for the next few days or at the end of the week to fill up that truck again and not have to wait on us.
That really wasn't enough money for the week. Then, if you look at the charges, if you run in for the week, we use, about a tank in that truck right now is about $140 to fill up. I don't like to run it all the way down, but whatever we want to. I just like to move forward, and I'm not arguing about anything. If we need to work out some expenses, let's work out the expenses.
Okay, well,
I apologize. The right way to go about it.
If I could ask then, since so according to our math here, and again, the issue is just the seemingly random charges that are being charged. But according to our math, your final pay on that last week would have been $458, with the different the multitude of little charges that you made, and then the reimbursements given. To us, it looks like it would have been $430.84. So we're within $20 of each other, or $28. So that's not.
There we go. Yeah, like I said, quite a bit of them expenses are legit, but I'm not going to argue with you. I went ahead and did it without you asking, so I'm happy with that, Dan. That's fine. Like I said, I don't want to bad mouth. I don't want to get worked up. I don't want to get upset. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well,
yeah.
If I could ask, so why reasonably, it would seem to me that in previous months, if you're making nickel and dime charges, you would say, "Hey, Dan, I was out in the country. I needed, I had to buy lunch on your dime. You can deduct it or something." Because what happened here is a result of Amy scrutinizing this. She then started going back. She went back 6 months to July, and we've just got what amounts to dozens and dozens. I mean, I don't want to say hundreds, that's an exaggeration, but 30, 40 little nickel dime charges. And I guess if I could ask, what you mentioned the truck and gas. Obviously, gas is through the roof, but on average, how? I mean, from our perspective, it looks like $80 is typically what your average fill up was when you were doing it. I mean, on a weekly basis, are you filling that thing up once and a half a week? You
I usually don't let it get too low, and I usually don't top it off too often. But since the first of the year, I've been trying to get as much as I can in it. But when the tanks are loaded up, then and another 30 gallons in there, it's a heavy truck. But I don't. Yeah. I would think, between a week, there's no expenses, Dan, that you owe me. I mean, that you guys need to be paying for me. You got the gas. That's it.
Well, I appreciate your comment there. So I guess this is going to be a little bit frustrating because just so July, August, September, October, November, December, and I guess that takes me back to the gas receipts versus these other ones. The numbers are seemingly about double of even what we're using for gas in Tahoe, meaning in July there was $740. In August, 701. These are not just gas receipts. These are all kinds of nickel dime receipts.
Yeah, and if you're going back to August and stuff, I tell you, I'm not taking no gas. That you guys can look at the thing. If that gas got filled up, I bet you anything that truck was parked in that gas station, except that one that you told me. I think maybe twice in my life I put card on gas in your card in my truck, and other than that, all them markings on the GPS should accord to them gas things.
Well, we may need to.
Because if you're getting that, like, you kind of feel like maybe, I was doing it for a long time. That wasn't the case, Dan. I wasn't. I don't know.
Well, I guess that takes me back to, well, so what did you? Well, we can go through the whole darn thing, but I mean, when you're doing a fill up, it's $80, or $65 or $100 as you.
I know back then in August, I don't think them expenses were that. I think I was doing probably 40s and 50s, because usually in the summertime in the truck and everything loaded up, I usually don't keep it full.
Okay. Well,
So, very rarely were them $80 charges, Dan, back then, or even, starting the first of the year. If you could look back at the receipts from the old card, very rarely there were $80 charges, or
Okay.
if any, very rarely.
Well, so at 40 or $50 then, is that twice a week you're doing it then, or?
No, probably 3.
Okay. Well, we'll have to look a little further, but I mean, even in Tahoe, I mean, where we do look, I guess we'll do some printing up of statements and things, and you can take a look at it. But a gas fill up though is not $8.19 or $9.68 or $7 and you know what I mean, or $10 or and so we've got again charges in July, August. Those ones were 740, 701. September was only 260. And out of that,
imagine them are some of my expenses, Dan. Them ain't nothing to do with you guys.
Okay, well, October was again 731. November was almost $1,000. It was $950. Yet, we're doing nothing for jobs in November. And December was 470. So, I mean, as Amy has shown me these statements, again, with what's amounting to hundreds of dollars of like nickel dime charges, to me, it looks like you're buying lunch or, going to Bi-Mart, and I don't know, even the Department of Fish and Game is on there, man.
Well, then you need to look at your number one guy, that you had in the office. Then the Department of Fish and Game was 50 cents a buck. That money was on the counter to Nick in the morning with a picture saying, "Can you put that back in the DeHaan's account?"
Yeah, I'm sorry,
I was out on the boat. My code wouldn't read at that time. I ended up being able to get your guys' card through. That money was put right back in when I walked in to work on Monday. Told Nick and everything, and I don't.
Okay, well, I mean that accounts for that one, but
Exactly, Dan. I don't. I worked with you for 4 years. I don't. I don't want to get worked up. But how do you guys want to work about that? I'm not going to say you guys did nothing for me. I'm not going to say this. I'm not. I guess I was getting a little back, Dan. Is how I looked at it.
Well, getting a little back though, but I mean, like last summer, I gave you a $2 an hour raise, right there in August, just because you didn't even ask for it. I
Well,
mean,
have you even looked at the prices? The prices that are, my niece at Papa Murphy's is making $23 an hour. I stuck with you hoping for something to come out of it. It never came out of it. I would have quit a long time ago. I'd be working for $22 an hour down.
so
You know what I mean? I just
basically,
felt like I was shortchanged all the way along the way. I just felt like I was pretty much dragged along.
okay.
But I don't. I'd rather work on something to move forward, Dan. And if you come up with something that I need to do, I'd like to work on that to make it better with you. I'm not. I don't want to. People get worked up over this stuff. I already told you.
Well, you've
What
now
do I got to
told.
do? Take care of the situation.
Well, I'm still trying to get my head around it because I was trying to figure out what was going on. I'm trying to take the calmer approach here. Amy's just through the roof. I mean,
And I'm telling you exactly what the situation was.
okay, so you're feeling like you're shortchanged, so you were taking extra along the way, is what you're saying.
I was getting a little bit here and there. It was kind of hard sometimes when I'd have Terry come back. Oh, they told me I go down and pay for my gym membership. Oh, they did this. Oh, I did this. They did. It hurt. You guys, a lot of stuff just really dug into me.
Well, I don't know how many
Even Kara
times.
the other week. How do you think this thing came up? Kara, oh, they gave me a raise for the people that I put on quarterly service. You think I just call you up I feel burnt all the way around every time. I never, oh, Mike, go get a membership. Oh, Mike, there's this. No, that never happened with me and you.
Well, then you're not aware of what's behind the scenes. I don't know how many times Amy said, "Wow, Mike doesn't have hours for this week. I'm just going to round up, round up, round up." But we didn't honk our horn and tell you that. Actually, we did sometimes.
Dan, and I worked for 4 years. You would always hint to me, 40 hours. I did all this work under, I don't think I've turned in too many 40 hours since I worked with you.
No,
You
I,
paid
I
three
agree.
guys to run what I was doing now. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? I'm just saying,
I agree with you.
we'll
You
talk
were.
for you, Dan. I just felt like I never got anything back, buddy. That's all. I just felt like it was just getting led on, and when Mike goes. Let's get what we can. And, every time new people come, and Nick would tell me something like, really? Oh, Kara tells me a couple of things. They didn't do that for me. They didn't. No.
So go ahead, give me an example. So Kara got a raise because she, not you, but she has
I
sold
worked for you for 3 years before I got vacations. I worked for you for 3 years before I got a cent for vacation pay. She got vacation pay this year. Now she claims gets all the quarterly service. You guys give her whatever,
So
another raise
you
on
had
some damn thing she says.
you had no vacation pay after a year of being with us.
Oh, no way. I don't think I got vacation. The
No,
last 2 years I started getting vacation pay.
yeah,
The last 2 years I started getting vacation pay.
yeah. I would need to look at notes there, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I just think that
I don't know, Dan. I would hope we could end on a good note. I just felt taken advantage of, all along. I don't know how many times I was just like, wow, whoa, really?
I'd really love
Like
to.
it said, what?
But
You know?
you're pulling that out of thin air. I mean, if you want to say I've taken
And that's not
advantage of you,
you want to buy
what did I do when I took you to the Safari Club, or when we talked about?
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Appreciate it. I don't want this conversation to be about who, what did, this, that. I would like to move forward, Dan, and see what I could do to deal with the problems that I've done in the past with you, and see if we can, move forward.
Okay. So
I don't want to be in the this, that. I apologize for my actions and everything. Can we go ahead and figure out what we would screw up with everything and work something out so we could get along and be happy when we see each other? That's all, Dan. I just don't feel like we're getting anywhere on this conversation, sir.
well, I think it would have been a lot more helpful had you been communicating along the way. That would have been a world of
I
difference.
agree. I agree.
Well, it's wonderful.
And I'm not disagreeing, Dan.
Well, it's wonderful to agree at this point, but the amount Amy probably has, I bet, 20 hours of going back to correspond, meaning 20 hours of her time just to look at the links up and then the correspondent where you are at
I'm
or the
sure.
vehicle is at. And that's just for basically a
That's
6 week period.
because I, don't, I guess that's because you guys want that. I don't know. I don't. I just
So what
you
you're,
know.
well,
What's
well, what are you saying? I mean, you
I don't know, Dan. Was it convenient having me working for you for 4 years?
so you get to just use your credit card.
Was it convenient, Dan, for having me working for you for 4 years? Getting
Conven
no calls, no complaints, no situations, no nothing.
Mike, you're phrasing that question in a way that I can't answer it. I would have happily fielded questions from you any day of the week to talk about Mrs. Jones or Mr. Smith and a proposal or whatever, but those calls never came in. So, matter of fact, the calls that did come in, and by the way, we always took your side for them, and including me driving out to Sheridan to go meet with that one customer who said you're going too fast. But there's the reoccurring complaint, including that rodent setup that just happened in
Exactly. The
Portland.
guy still got rid of us after we left with you. He fired us after we left with you, and I drenched the house in front of you. So
Yeah.
that's pretty something that you bring up that one. I just don't even think you
No,
looked into
but
the
Mike,
situation.
you're missing the
This
point.
is the stuff that got me mad all the way along. All along. You would say something and not look in the background. Dan, me and you went out there, gave him what he always got. Everyone was happy. We left to cancel service. There we go.
Yep. So,
I don't want I don't want this conversation going this way, Dan.
but my point though is that we covered you. He called to cancel, said he didn't like what you did the last time. It's like, okay, we're done.
He called up to complain about nothing. No one was going to save that customer. And they was calling for no reason.
Fair
That
enough.
was a
But
bunch of
how
bull.
about the other, customers that were calling with complaints about too fast, too early in the morning, including the rodent setup. The last
I
one
don't
you
think
did.
you got any of them calls, Dan.
Oh
I don't think you
no.
got any of them calls ever to be too fast. Ever. There was never the customers I dealt with. Everyone I showed up loved my service, Dan. Loved me.
Yeah.
The
Well,
people that called up, you might have got 3 or 4 complaints over 4 years. I thought that was pretty darn good, Dan.
okay.
But whatever, I don't want to deal with this no more, Dan. I'd like to move forward. If you want to discuss something to go on down
Okay.
the line, I'll be loving it. But I don't want to sit here and get worked up no more.
Okay. Well, at this point, I guess we're going to continue to do math. I guess math meaning figure out what the charges were. But I mean, there's a quick $1,000.
I'm done with all that. I'm done with all that. You guys, I didn't even get my check on Christmas, New Year's. I'm just done with it all. Dan,
What do
hopefully
you?
one day we can move forward.
What do
Have
you?
a good evening. Thank you, sir. I'm
Okay.
just, you guys, look, you guys are wasting time going all back. Have fun with it. I'm over it, Dan.
So
I'm
you
done with the show.
realize that anything like
So what I would do now, I'll go to your level and play your game and see what happens, Dan. So
Mike,
have a
you've
good time.
taken
Thank
you've
you,
taken
Dan.
thousands of dollars.
Oh my God. Thank you for everything, Dan.
Okay.
Please have a good night.
Felony charges. Felony charges. If you don't want to talk with me.
I don't think so. I think the recording that I got with Heather, you threatening, trying to get me to go over and pay. Good night, Dan.
That won't
Thank
matter.
you, sir.